What's up, everyone? My name is Malcolm, also known as Beta, and today I'm bringing you all one of my rambling reviews. I guess now a series because the last one I did was for Marvel's Avengers back in 2020. I usually do this for games I'm passionate about and have stuff to say, both positive and negative. Now 2020 was a few years ago, and do you think the reasons why I haven't done anything with this series is because I just forgot it was too late to make another one? Well, you bet your bottom dollar penny, because that's correct. Now, before we get started, there are a few disclosures I need to say before we continue with this Final Fantasy 16 review.
Disclosure 1.
If you're expecting a well-written review with deep intellect about my points, or with a well-written script that's professional with me staying on topic, I'm sorry, y'all clicked on the wrong video. Please go watch a Stephanie Sterling video. She does great, amazing work. Or watch a Skillet video, or a Bricky video, or you get my point. I'm just having fun with this, that's what I like to do on this channel. Disclosure, duh. Look, I know there's a very passionate base out there who says this game's a 10 out of 10, and they are very vocal with any type of criticism or negativity when it comes to Final Fantasy 16. And look, that's cool and all, but I honestly do not care. This is all opinion. Your opinion is no less valid or invalid or what have you nots than mine, because it's all subjective, and that's fine. So basically, let's keep it cool and don't get weird about it. And last and certainly not least, disclosure 3. This review is coming from someone who's only played 2 and 3% Final Fantasy games before this. Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and the first 10 or so minutes of Dirge of Cerberus when I was a kid. So I'm a noob when it comes to Final Fantasy stuff, so sorry if I get anything wrong, or, well, this is clearly some, Final Fantasy stuff, because this was in all other Final Fantasy. I don't know any of that stuff. I've only played 15, 7 Remake, and now it's 16, so yeah. And with that, ladies and gents, if you guys like what you saw during this rambling review of mine, please leave a like. It helps out this channel a lot, and subscribe and turn on notifications and set them to all so you don't miss out on anything I post to this channel. Helps out the channel a lot. Follow me on Twitter at beta BAYTUH. And yeah, of course you can support me further by donate to my Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Thanks, leaving a tip, or become a YouTube member on my channel. All those links are in the description down below, and as a pinned comment in the comment section down below as well. Holy freaking shit, that took so long. All right, let's talk about the aspect of Final Fantasy 16 that stuck out to me a lot. And no, it's not Clive's boobas that give Tifa's boobas a run for their money. No, ladies and gents, it's about that gameplay. Gameplay doesn't matter what type of game it is. It can be a walking simulator to a first-person shooter like Call of Duty and Halo, or a character action game like Devil May Cry 5 or Final Fantasy 16. Gameplay is always king. Yes, the gameplay. This is what sold me initially when it came to Final Fantasy 16. It's fast, high-octane action instead of it being a RPG like many previous Final Fantasy games, which isn't a bad thing. Those just didn't click with me. Like, take Final Fantasy 7 Remake as an example. Everything, in my opinion, in that game is a 10 or a 9, but the gameplay, which many consider a hybrid of what Square Enix can do with Final Fantasy, is like a 6 or a 7 in my personal opinion. Final Fantasy 16's gameplay is kind of like a simpler version of Devil May Cry's gameplay system, if you will. Its combat is very similar, which isn't too much of a surprise because the combat director from Devil May Cry 5 worked on the gameplay for this game, but where they differ is how deep and technical you can get with its combat. In the Devil May Cry series, for most of them, you can pull off some crazy ass deep moves with just your sword alone because of how many movesets it has. But in Final Fantasy 16, those sword combos are very limited and basic. A more apt comparison to its simplicity is to compare it to something like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which is an amazing game in and of itself, which again, this isn't a bad thing when it comes to its simplicity. I'm honestly happy that I don't have to do Tekken level button presses to pull off some dope ass combos in this game. That's why I love the gameplay so much. I love the gameplay, I love the combat loop so much. But where the gameplay shines the most is in its icon abilities that Clive gets from defeating the enemy dominance. Like, take Garuda For example, using Garuda's Deadly Embrace to grapple smaller enemies towards you, or when bigger lugs are half staggered, you can pull them down to then use one of her powers to deplete more of their stagger bar, which is a great freaking thing to do. Or use the Might of Titan, I don't know why I said it like that, Titan, to dish out major big boy damage, or do a cool block, then turn that into a JoJo, or use Shiva's powers for massive stagger potential, or use Big Daddy Odin and Bahamut for ultra fuck ton of damage. Even though the number of abilities to reach that full damage and stagger potential is limited, it's 100% totally worth it. But unfortunately, not everything is sunshine and chocobos when it comes to the gameplay. There are some things with the gameplay I'm not a fan of, and no, it's not the overtly used particle effects that can block sight during combat. It's a small, my first one, it's a small but big one, and it's the length. Given what type of game this is, that's a big deal, because again, Final Fantasy 16's gameplay is not an RPG. It's a high action octane character, I just said that backwards, high octane character action hack and slash game like Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, and Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Do you know on average how long it takes to beat those? 7 to 12 hours. And do you know how long it takes to beat Final Fantasy 16 by just mainlining it, doing 1 to 3 side quests and 1 or so monster hunts? Around 30 hours. And do you know how long it took me to beat it? Someone who did every main quest, every side quest, and every monster hunt?
70 fucking hours.
And look, I'm a big believer that the combat loop should fit the type of game you're making. That's why we see games like Halo, Call of Duty, Doom being no more than 5 to 10 hours, because while those games' gameplay are masterful to a T in my personal opinion, definitely, like Halo 5, Doom Eternal, and Call of Duty games, after a long time, it starts to feel daunting and stale. And that's what happened to me with Final Fantasy 16 after hour 80 or 20, unless we got to do a main mission that moves the plot along and fight dominants and icons. Other than those, the combat really start to wane on my overall enjoyment of the game. Next, it's the party system. Remember when I said that I'm happy that Final Fantasy 16's gameplay isn't like other Final Fantasy games? I still feel that way, but having a good party system like Final Fantasy 15 or 7 Remake could have helped elevate the combat even more. Look y'all, I have no issues with Clive being a one-man powerhouse, but what's the point of having a system like this if it's not fully utilized so that everyone can contribute here and there? You know what I mean? The only party members who's actually, or I should say party member who's actually useful is good boy Torgal. Look at him, what a cutie, who can not only heal you but set you up for cool ass combos, knock down enemies, and help stagger them. Also, by the by, he can limit break and semi-prime during combat as well, just like our very own Clive. Voice crack, let me do that again. Kahoom. Just like our very own Clive. The others, Uncle Sid doesn't bring nothing to the table when it comes to gameplay. Nothing. Dead. Joshua, same thing. Nothing. Dead. Waifu Jill? Oh, Jill? Nothing. Same for her character writing, but I'll get to that soon enough. The final gripe I do have with the gameplay in Final Fantasy 16, certainly not least, is when you get the other icon abilities in this game. Like, you start out with Phoenix from the get, then soon after the prologue, within a few, few hours after that, you get Garuda. Very soon after that, you get Ifrit. A few more hours after that, beginning of Act 2, you get Rama. Then mid-Act 2, you get Titan. That's what, the first 12, close to maybe the 15 16-hour mark of the game. That's not too bad, but I do wish you could get Titan a lot sooner. But then it takes a while to get arguably the best abilities in the game, in my personal opinion. Bahamut, Shiva, and Odin. Bahamut is at the end of Act 2, which is a very long act, by the by, and Shiva and Odin at the very end of the game, when there's like 3 main missions left and a fuck ton of new side quests. Creative Business Unit 3? What the heck? But despite those gripes I do have with the gameplay when it comes to Final Fantasy 16, it does bring in an engaging combat system that has a very satisfying, eye-catching gameplay loop that I and many others will enjoy for years to come, in my personal opinion. But the bigger question is, where do they go from here when it comes to the gameplay? Look, it's not a little secret that the Final Fantasy community, just like the Halo community, is divided when it comes to this. In Halo's case, 343 decided to combine the old school Bungie gameplay from Halo 1 through 3 and their own mix, my personal favorite gameplay, Halo 4 through 5, to get the satisfying gameplay loop we see in Halo Infinite. But in Square Enix's case, they started with deep turn-based RPG gameplay that rely heavily on the party system, itemization, and elemental magics like Pokemon, enemies being weak and resistant to certain types of magic that many fell in love with and are still love. Then move to a more character action light RPG like mechanics, with that being Final Fantasy 15. Then a hybrid combining new and old eras of Final Fantasy with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and now full on character action hack and slash like Devil May Cry with Final Fantasy 16. And honestly, I have no clue. Like, I mean, look, I kind of do. Like, we can all agree that the next mainline Final Fantasy game won't be turn-based, right? My guess is it's going to be a hybrid like Final Fantasy 7 Remake or full-on action like Final Fantasy 16. Both have their strengths and weaknesses, but my guess is the turn-based stuff is going to be saved for spin-offs or, of course, remakes, remasters, pixel art versions of older Final Fantasy games, games like Octopath Traveler. I think Square Enix, they published the Bravely Default games, and Chrono Trigger, the Trigger games, the Mana games. But who knows? I may be wrong, but only time will tell when it comes to this in like 5 or 6 years. Anywho, moving to something that's universally loved in this game, the boss fights and music.
Mine are the eyes that look down upon you all!
And yet still you cannot see. You are no better than us. We are one and the same.
This segment is going to be a lot smaller, I hope, because there's not much I need to say when it comes to the music and boss fights in Final Fantasy 16. When it comes to reviewing a game, people usually do the normal, is the gameplay good, the story, the world, etc, blah blah blah. But for me, I added music to that selection because I love music so much. It's an important part of my life that makes me me, just like video games. Bar none, Final Fantasy 16 will go down in video game history for having the best boss fights in music and gaming, in my personal opinion. Sure, a lot of people would give that to one of From Software games like Elden Ring, but this just hits differently, you know what I mean? Do I think as a whole Final Fantasy 16 has a freaking chance to be Game of the Year at the Keighleys? No, not a damn chance. Same with sites like IGN and GameSpot. But when it comes to the music, yes, 1000% yes. Same with the voice acting. Boss fights, of course, too, but I'll get to that soon enough. Like, listen to this. This is the definition of hype.
Show yourself, Ifrit.
Or this.
Your time is past! And
The way I would describe all of the dominant and icon boss fights is that they're basically that one shonen anime with the dope ass fight scene that gets your blood boiling and pumping, but the difference is we can actually play through that experience firsthand, control the movements and dictate the attacks. That's what makes them special. But same with the music, of course. We have the Get Hype Gatorade Find Your Flame. Both versions are masterful. And the main menu theme that sets up the more darker tone of the game, but fortunately the game doesn't deliver on that, but still a masterful song nonetheless. Even the ethereal synth music when you learn the truth about Ultima and the Fallen. To add more to this, ladies and gents, when a game has music that tells a story, that in and of itself is really special in my eyes. Take Metal Gear Rising as an example. Oh Jesus. Well, look at me bringing up Rising Revengeance multiple times during this review. Hey, what can I say? It's the best Metal Gear game out there so far, and it's freaking amazing. Do not at me on this. I cannot be proven wrong. Anywho, back to the script. In that game, each boss has their own song, but to add an extra layer on top of that, each song has some lyrics that tells us a little bit more about their motivations and why they're doing what they're doing. Take Mistral. Her theme is called A Stranger I Remain, and some of the lyrics say this: I finally found what I was looking for, a place where I can be without remorse. This goes back to an earlier discussion between her and Raiden, where they talk about having a reason to fight. Now, to bring that back to a weird, I guess kind of that weird roundabout way to Final Fantasy 16, what does Find Your Flame mean? When Clive fights Shadow Ifrit? Well, the game tells you Clive accepts the truth that he's the second icon of fire. Ifrit, who kind of killed his younger brother Joshua, the Phoenix, the first icon of fire. He found his flame of acceptance of what he is and what he has done and what he will do moving forward. Anywho, that's how I personally took it. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Lol. Oh, lol. I probably should have said that part. I wrote LOL in my script. I'm like, that means I'm supposed to do ha 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 like laugh, but I accidentally just said the low part. Jesus Christ, I'm a freaking mess when it comes to this. Hey, it's my first time doing this. What can I say? All in all, it's gonna be pretty hard in my personal opinion for any game moving forward that can match Final Fantasy 16 when it comes to the boss fights and music. Just mainly the spectacle of it all. I mean, maybe Metal Gear Rising 2. I mean, it's possible a Devil May Cry 6. I mean, who knows on that front? I mean, maybe even Final Fantasy 17. We're gonna have to know in like we're probably gonna know in another 5 to 6 years. Also, one thing that I'm really surprised about, you guys remember the very first trailer for Final Fantasy 16, the Awakening trailer? The song that plays at the end of the trailer, the first Final Fantasy 16 trailer, not in the game. Like, what?
The legacy of the crystals has shaped our history.
It's so badass. Like, hopefully we'll see a full version release of it in the future, but you know, who knows. But enough being super duper positive and nice on Final Fantasy 16. It's time to move on to things I'm more lukewarm and negative on. The story, the characters, and the mission structure. I guess the open worldish of the game as well, but you know, we'll get to that little tidbit. But before we actually continue on to the next section of this review of Final Fantasy 16, a quick call to action. That CTA, that's actually what I have in my notes here to do a CTA. I don't know, like I looked up on YouTube how to make a script on YouTube to make YouTube videos. And the video, they were like, okay, around like the halfway point of your video, do a call to action. I'm like, call to action? Yeah, do the whole like, subscribe to, you know, drive up engagement, have people coming back to your videos. So I'm like, oh, I don't know if it'll work, but you know, here we you go, I guess. If you guys like what you've seen so far during this video, please leave a like. It helps out my channel a lot. Also, subscribe for more content. Hit that notification bell and turn notifications, set notifications to all so you don't miss out on any content I post on this channel. Follow me on Twitter at Beta BAYTUH. Share my channel and my videos everywhere you can to your friends, families, cats, and dogs, and whoever who nods. And also, if you want to support me further, you can do that by donating to my Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Thanks, leaving a tip, or become a YouTube member on my channel. All those links are in the description down below and as a pinned comment in the comment section down below as well. So yeah, call to action over with. Back to the video. That's a video? I'm about to say video. Video. I probably should have done like a thing. Hey, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. I'm like, I don't have a sponsor. Like, I have 49,000 subscribers on YouTube. My low bitch ass ain't getting those sponsorships at this time. Oh man, we like to have fun on this channel. Let's start by talking about possibly the most controversial part of my review of Final Fantasy XVI, the story. Welcome to the world of Valisthea. This is where our story takes place. It's beautiful on the outside but rotten to its core on the inside, with the majority of its denizens not worth saving. Creative Business Unit 3 had the balls to center a fair bit of the plot around some heavy dark themes, slavery, oppression, and freedom. Knowing this, I was like, okay, cool. Let's see how this works out because, like I said, these things are at the forefront of the story, and many, and I do mean many, mediums that try to tackle these types of heavy topics tend to fail really fucking hard. I think the last one that I consumed that did a pretty good job at this was Vinland Saga. So you're probably wondering, well, hey Beta, how did they do? And to that I say back, well, YouTube watcher and our listener, they did an okay job at first in my opinion. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? With the prologue. I think we can all agree that Final Fantasy XVI has one of the strongest openings for a video game ever. That certainly gives you the impression that this is what the game is going to be all about. It does a good job introducing some of the main characters and some side characters through flashbacks and flash forwards, like Clive, our main protagonist, Torgal, the cutest best boy, Joe, the love interest to Clive, Joshua, the little brother, and Elwyn, the king of Rosaria, and Clive and Joshua's dad, and the loving relationship they all have for each other, and some of the antagonists too, like Annabella, Clive, and Joshua's mother, who hates the branded, aka this world's version of slaves. Also, we see some of the dominants, like Bartimus, who's the dominant for the icon of Odin, Hugo with Titan, and Benedicta, who has Garuda. Already, the cast of characters are pretty stacked, right? But how did we get to this point? Well, it all started with the downfall of Rosaria of the Rosaria Kingdom 13 years ago at Phoenix Gate, the kingdom that Clive, Torgal, Jill, and Joshua lived in. Basically, Annabella betrayed the kingdom of Rosario for the empire of Sanbreque, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Sanbreque, and under the cover of night, its soldiers, Metal Gear style, stormed Phoenix Gate where Clive, Joshua, and Elwyn were, and killed all the soldiers and straight up decapitated Elwyn, the king. And this led to Joshua priming into the Phoenix, the first icon of fire, which then kind of led to Clive not knowingly priming into the second icon of fire, Ifrit, after, by the way, having no signs whatsoever having Ifrit. They have an epic showdown, and yeah, this happened.
No! Stop it! Take your hands off my brother!
Help me! Help me, Clive!
Joshua! Stop it! Stop it! I swore I would protect him! Please! Please! Stop it! fucking kill you!
Afterwards, a weakened Clive is picked up by the soldiers of the Empire and his mother, who then branded him and put him into slavery for the Empire, while Clive promised to kill the Dominant who killed his little brother Joshua. Wow freaking wee. What a starter for the game, right? Now the big question is, does it keep the same momentum throughout the game, the dark, gritty, mature, very Game of Thrones feel, and still carrying the themes of slavery, oppression, and freedom, having free will? The answer is a little complicated, leaning more towards no, not really. To oversimplify it, the first half of the game has you meet up with your new gang: Uncle Sid, Adult Jill, Adult Torgal, Gav, and the others. And you all embark on a mission to destroy the mother crystals that suck up ether, aka magic, from killing the world, and also freeing the branded, and having them, bears, and the dominants be on equal footing with non-magic users, since they're treated like shit because they can use magic, something that everyone needs to go about their day-to-day life. That's more or less what you do for the first half of the game, and for better or worse, they do keep up with those themes, showing you the state of the world and where things stand. And in all honesty, I was still really into the story at this point. Like I said, it still had those themes. It still felt very Game of Thrones, you know? Kingdoms and their kings plotting against each other, scheming and being scum, and on the side we have Clive and the gang freeing bears and destroying the mother crystals to create a better world. Nice, awesome. Then, boy, oh boy, in comes the second half of the game where the main big bad villain gets fully weaved into the story, Ultima. Look, I know he was shown back at the end of Act 1, hell, even teased back in the prologue at Phoenix Gate, but at this point, the story totally shifts focus from what I was liking to this mustache-twirly Eldritch God, I am your creator now and you my mythos type energy, and I totally lost interest in the story, and it became a very generic light versus darkness type thing in my eyes that never recaptured my interest whatsoever. Basically, my feelings on the story can be boiled down to they had us in the first half, not gonna lie, GIF, but what a really, really good first half. From vengeance to repentance to taking on someone else's will to freeing others from their fate to the scheming of the nation's rulers, the first half of Final Fantasy 16 was really, really freaking good. I was like in it to win it when it comes to the story for the first half, you know what I mean? But when it came to the second half, it just sucks that they just did away with the things I was liking. And I know a lot of people, you know, if you listen to this, who are veterans in the Final Fantasy world, this is like probably, you know, you're probably saying, well, this is like normal for Final Fantasy. I'm like, well, like I'd rather have it be consistent in what it's trying to do with the story. Like if it was doing the whole Eldritch light versus dark god creator thing from the get, I would be more okay with it. But it's again, it should focus to the more from the Game of Thrones feeling, you know, that I was really enjoying, to the light versus dark. Like I'd rather have it be, you know, either, you know, all the light versus dark, you know, Kingdom Hearts bullshit, or the Game of Thrones feeling. With it gets sprinkled in, you know, little bits here and there with the whole Eldritch thing, but they went freaking Dion Cole style balls deep with it in the second half. I'm just like, all right, you lost me here. But hey, that first half, still pretty freaking good. Last and certainly not least, the characters and mission structure. Let's see, who do we have for the characters? We have Clive, okay, main protag. Torgal, of course, best boy Torgal. We got Uncle Sid, Jill, Joshua, more Clive, and Gav on the good guy side. Oh, and we do have the others, I guess. And for the baddies, we have Ultima, Barnabas, Hugo, Benedicta, and I guess Annabella, I guess? They really don't do anything with her outside of the prologue with her big betrayal, which was alright, fine and dandy, but then outside of that, she really doesn't get too much screen time. Plus, she has a really disappointing fate. Like, come freaking on now. But overall, they're not too bad with some exceptions. Jill, you know, that's a little unfair that I keep singling her out, because honestly, most of the cast take a huge backseat to Clive, but the reason why she's really noticeable is because out of all of them, you could take Jill, a main character by the way, out of the story and not much would be lost, which sucks because I really do like her, from her character design to her and Clive having a real lovey-dovey relationship. But outside of that and a main mission that kind of centers around her but ends up being about Clive, she's just there, doesn't really contribute much to gameplay and not much to the story either. Oh yeah, and she does give Clive Shiva's powers, which somehow makes him able to beat Barnabas slash Oda, the motherfucker who split the ocean in half and beat Clive twice. But whatever, I digress on that part. That's some weird anime nonsense bullshit right there. All right, moving on to, oh god, I didn't even write this part down on the script. All right, we're still free bar. Moving on because, man, this review is getting a little bit long. Like, closing out, the other characters, we already touched on Jill and my issues I have with her. Uncle Sid, I really do like Sid. I think he brings in a nice breath of fresh air to the cast. It sucks that he dies early on. Like, I would have liked it if he stuck around a lot longer, but I think Sid does a great job giving something to Clive and Clive giving something back to Sid, like them changing their ways of thinking. Like Sid at first would, he created the hideaway for a place for embarrassed magic users and whatnot to have a place for them to die on their own terms. But inviting Clyde into his fold, he changed his outlook to, hey, instead of having them die on their own terms, let's have them live and be free on their own terms, like live how they please and not under the boot of someone else, which is really cool. Moving on to Torgal. Torgal is the best boy. Like, I have nothing but nice things to say. I mean, hell, he's like probably, like, other than Clive, the best, the best character in the game. Like, I'm not gonna lie, his side quest, Torgal's side quest, that's another thing that made me tear up a lot just thinking about it. It makes me want to cry. His side quest is so I can't, like, side quest is so fucking good and heartbreaking and heartwarming and all of the feels and all the big words. It's just a lot that I don't want to talk about too much because I will tear up and cry. But like, he is such a good boy that, like, ever since the fall of Phoenix Gate and the destruction of, the downfall of the Rizara kingdom, like, Torgal was non-stop not only searching for Clive, but going back to where it all began and, like, collecting some of Clive's belongings and whatnot. Like, and him having a heart-to-heart with Clive, and it's just like, man, I mean, of course, but not with words. Like, they didn't need words. You can definitely see what Torgal was, thinking, what he was trying to say to Clive. Like, you got it. It was all there. It was just very beautiful. Like, man, even though I do have my criticisms with Jill and whatnot, like, I really do, even though I'm not a fan of the ending of this game, because it's very ambiguous, and of course, the reasons I just listed moments ago, but I do wish that, Clive, Jill, and Torgal all live happily ever after. Like, that would have been, so much better, something more definitive like that. But, and Gav, of course, Gav, he does bring some levity and some humor to the party, which is nice to find in Danny. And of course, we have the others, which, they're basically just there, aside from outside of some side quests. Earlier during my gameplay section, I talked about how, like, it took me 70 hours to beat the game and whatnot, and that's mainly due to because I did everything in the game, mainly the side quests, which took up a good chunk of it. And that's mainly because a lot of people are like, okay, the side quests at the beginning, like the first 2/3 of the game might be bad, but towards the end, like, the side quests are legit great. And it's like, oh man, it's the old dumb argument, my personal opinion, of like, oh, it gets good after 30 hours, it gets good after 10 hours. And I'm like, oh, fine, I'll stick with it just so I can see with my own eyes. And legit, they're 1000% right. Like, in Act 3, towards the end, I mean, specifically towards the end of the game, the final mission before you go off to fight Ultima for the final time. The side quests, there's actually some really good ones. We get the Torgal one, we get a lot of characterization, some good character development for a lot of the side characters. It's just like, it begs the question, why wait this late to like have your characters, your side characters, like breathe, have them bloom, have the development happen at the end of the game? Like, why wait that long? Like, why not introduce the beginning of those side quests during Act 2, towards the middle of Act 2, and have it conclude at the end of Act 2 or towards the beginning of Act 3, not the last freaking mission? Because man, after like 50 or so hours of monotonous fetch quest side quests that's basically the mission structure of the main quest scenario, it gets very freaking it gets daunting, which I don't blame people saying that the side quests are terrible in the game, because for the first 2/3 they fucking were. But outside the main scenario quest or outside the fetch quests that you do in the main scenario, the ones that you actually go to do to like destroy the mother crystals and battle the dominants and icons, those quests are legit pretty great. But that's like 20-30% of the main scenario quest. The rest of the scenario, the main mission quests, are the side fetch quests design that's in the game, which is a lot of the side quests and a lot of the main missions quests. So it's just like, well, that freaking sucks. But yeah, that's moving on to the main antagonist. Of course, we have Ultima. I already basically said all I wanted to say about Ultima during my story section. He is a mustache twirling villain who is so fucking boring to watch. Like he's boring and generic. Like my homie Arden Azunia is a better villain than him from Final Fantasy 15. Way better villain, way better goals as to why he's doing what he's doing, which makes sense. I'm just like, okay, like, we have Hugo. Hugo is the big meathead who's just like out there, wants revenge and fuck shit up because what happened to Benedicta. I actually really liked her character. Like, I was legit pretty mad when she died by Clive/Ifrit going on a rampage, because I was like, man, it would have been really cool if she survived and came around on her decision from all the mistakes that she made in her past and actually achieved the dream that her and Sid wanted, and that being them wanting to be free, have free will. Because she was, she kind of acted like she was free, but she was still basically a slave to her masters, which is, one of the themes of this game, while Sid and the people of the Hideaway had free will, not under anyone else's boot, but Benedicta was under someone else's boot, that be Barnabas, and I think Hugo, but it was kind of not explained what her relationship was with Hugo. Same thing with Barnabas, like she was sleeping with both of them, and I don't know what type of play, like what was her goal with doing that. I have no clue on that front. Then we have Annabella. Oh man, like I honestly hate how they did her at the end. Maybe because that we weren't the ones who got to kill Annabella, but it's just like after her great betrayal in the beginning of the game, which was a beautiful freaking prologue, it's just like really nothing from her. Then at the end of Act 2, she decides to take her own life because I guess she's in disillusion or something, that like everything was a farce. And it's just like, man, I wish we could have done that, because Annabella, she's scum. She 1000% deserved it. But it's her reasoning of why she betrayed everyone, because she wanted to build a better bloodline between her bloodline of the Phoenix and Sam Briggs with Bahamut. I'm like, what a stupid freaking reason. But like, at least we should have been the ones to take her out, like I said. But like, man, I honestly would have liked it more if it was like, Ultima was like, was behind the scenes and pulling Annabella's strings, but we didn't get no hints of that. I mean, in the end, we found out that it was Ultima taking control over her 5-year-old son, which his name is Oliver or Olivier or whatever. And I'm just like, oh man, missed opportunity on that front. Then we have Big Daddy Barnabas himself. Like, he kind of a little bit runs into the same situation that I was about to say Odin, there's the same character, but Ultima runs into, is that he doesn't get weaved into the story fully until towards the end of the game. And then he's just like all like mythos this, and of course because he is Ultima's puppet, like all he wants from Clive is to Clive to take his powers and whatnot. So there's really nothing there for him. The reason why I like Barnabas is because how badass he is. Like, you get the sense that he is the strongest of all the dominant slash icons. Like, it seems like he could beat every single dominant or every single icon in his, in his regular form without priming into Odin, which is pretty freaking cool. But it sucks we didn't really see more of his character. Like, it does seem like he has a very close relationship to his mother. Like, I'm not gonna say he has a mom complex. That would be. I mean, it's very Game of Thrones, so that would be part for the course. But it sucks we didn't see more of him. Maybe in DLC, who knows? But yeah, his boss fight is probably my favorite boss fight in the whole entire game. Like, it's very much like how I described it was like he's basically fighting a Devil Trigger version Virgil, but he's in his Devil Trigger mode the whole entire boss fight. Like, it's pretty freaking insane. The dude is a complete freaking badass. All in all, characters in this game, not too bad. Again, like Clive, basically, it's the Clive show. He basically steals the show, but you know what? They were pretty enjoyable, although I do have my criticisms. I enjoyed their presence. Definitely during cutscenes, like I enjoyed, all of them being there. Like the voice acting is off the charts from all of them. Again, Ben Starr above and beyond, but yeah, all very entertaining to watch in general. Except for Ultima, fuck that guy. And with that, ladies and gents, we are at the end of my Final Fantasy 16 rambling review. Thank you all for watching this, and thank you all for joining me for this very long review. I have no idea how long this is going to be, probably like 50 minutes, close to an hour. Hey, I had a lot to say on Final Fantasy 16, and I think I got all my feelings and opinions out there. It was pretty fun. A lot of times while I was writing the script for this video, I was going to video essay and video retrospective territory. I was like, no, I gotta stick to what I want to say, how I feel about the game, and and not do retrospective and video essay territory and whatnot. But you know what? I've been thinking about it for the past few months now since I got this really good PC. Like, why not dabble into that territory? Like, if I were to release a video essay retrospective type video, it would be like once every other month, because we have a lot of video games I'm going to be doing walkthroughs and let's play of for like very soon. Like, we have Starfield coming up in the next like month or so. We have from the new Armored Core games, Spider-Man, Remnant 2, Alan Wake 2, Mortal Kombat 1, the new Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. We have a lot, so I think every other month for a video like that would be pretty good. If I were to pick a game that I would start with, it would be one of my favorite games of all time, Ninja Gaiden Black. I would love to go over the gameplay, the story, the characters, some of the lore. I think that would be pretty fun. So yeah, I would say I would most certainly do a video like that, probably, hopefully before 2023 is over with. But yeah, ladies and gents, thank you all for watching this, and like I said, thank you all for joining me for this. I am really tired now, so I'm going to go and eat me some good food and watch some anime that I need to catch up on, like Hell's Paradise, because things are getting pretty freaking crazy with that show. With all that being said, before I let you guys all go, oh yeah, I should actually say what I'm doing next on this channel. Basically what I usually do on the channel, which is gameplay walkthroughs and let's plays and live streams. My next full gameplay walkthrough will be Exoprimal. Be expecting part 1 as probably a VOD, maybe Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, or Friday afternoon. If not that, it will be a live stream, me live streaming part 1, either Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, one of those 2 or 3 days. Then after that, we're going to be doing Telltale's Expanse, which looks pretty cool, then Remnant 2. But we have lots of stuff, like I said, Starfield, all that coming up the horizon. Baldur's Gate 3 looks pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, lots of content coming to my channel, ladies and gents, from now to the end of 2023. So yeah, strap in, because it's gonna be a freaking wild ride. So yeah, like I said, with that being said, I'm going to end this very long video right here. Thank you for watching this. If you guys can all please leave a like on this video if you guys like what you saw. Please subscribe for more content. It helps out this channel a lot. When you do subscribe, just hit that little notification bell next to the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content I post to this channel, and make sure you set those notifications to all as well. Please share my channel and my videos to all your friends, families, cats and dogs, and whoever who not. And you guys can all follow me on Twitter at Beta BAYTUH. If you want to keep supporting me even further than just subscribing to my YouTube channel, leaving a like, share my channel and my videos to all your friends and families. Please consider donating some of your extra money so you have lying around to my Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Thanks, leaving a tip, or become a YouTube member on my channel. That is patreon.com/Beta BAYTUH and or paypal.me/Beta BAYTUH and or through YouTube Super Thanks. All you have to do is click on any one of my videos that are monetized, which is is 99.9% of them, then hit that little money heart thanks button and donate however much you want. I feel like I say little wrong, but regardless how you choose to support me even further, ladies and gents, any and all donations are much appreciated and it's 100% completely optional. And with all that being said, for the final time for this rambling review of Final Fantasy 16, which I will be doing more of these in the future, my name is Malcolm, also known as Beta, and I will catch you guys all on my next walkthrough, Let's Play, Channel Plus update, live stream, or rambling review, or essay video, essay retrospective video, basically whatever else I do next on this channel, which is very, very, very soon. Peace, thank you for watching, and I love you all.
The world you seek is but a fantasy!
The only fantasy here is yours. And we shall be its final witness. I said